Good morning, children. Today we are going to discuss about what you call the new concept, a new chapter. What is a new chapter? Hereditary and evolution. So, previous classes, what we discussed: human reproduction, reproductive diseases, reproductive what you call problems, and how to protect from the diseases, and how to give care for carrying women, pregnant women, lactation women, like that we discussed in the previous classes. We are discussing the new chapter that is called heredity and evolution. What is the new chapter? Heredity and evolution. Every individual, bird or animal or human, produce the individuals, right? Similar to it by reproductive process. See, human will produce the human, bird will produce the bird, right? And tree will produce the seed, will produce the plant, tree, like that. So every living beings will produce. Parents' characters are transferred to offsprings. So now what you will understand? Parents' characters will be transferred to offsprings, means daughters. That is only. So the transmission of characters from parents to offsprings is known as hereditary. The transfer of the characters from parents to offsprings is called hereditary. From one generation to the next generation. From one generation to the next generation is called hereditary. Understand or not? Offsprings inherit characters from their parents are not exact copies of their parents. They may be different in their skin color. So some changes will be there. From parents to offsprings are forming, but some variations are there between the parents and offsprings. Maybe skin color, height, facial features. All differences are. So these kind of differences from parents to offsprings. Offsprings are showing changes or not? Those are only called variations. What you called? Variations. So the what you call variations, variation how to define is so differences in the traits or characters among individuals of a species. So characters will be changed from parents to offsprings. Those are called variations. For example, asexual reproduction variations are less, but sexual reproduction variations are more. More changes will be seen. For asexual reproduction example, sugarcane. You see sugarcane. If you go to the sugarcane, what you call farm, there you will say same plants, sugarcane plants, same. There is no change at all. But if you see humans, so one sugarcane producer, new one will be same like parent. No changes in the sugarcane farm as it is almost all similar. Very little variation. But humans, we see humans, more variations will be say complete different from the parents to the newly formed baby or babies or children completely shows the more variations. So differences in the traits or characters among the individual of a species is called variations. Same species but different appearances will be there. What is variations? Variations mainly due to change in the environmental factors and reproductions. So change in environmental factors and due to reproduction, environmental factors and reproduction, these two are the main reasons for the variation. See, because of variations, new species are forming. Very important bit. Because of variations, new species are forming. Now, variations are very important. For example, environmental factors we will see. So some environmental changes suddenly changes. So who have the good resistance power to face that change? They will be adapted to the new environment and they will be survive. Better adapted, better. For example, climatic changes are happening or not? Who can change their, okay, who can adapt their chaotical that conditions, they can only survive. That is adapting. That resistance character is called variation. Those who are not adapting, those who don't have the resistance, they will be die. For example, bacterial colony, you see, we changed the bacterial colony from normal room temperature to high temperature suddenly. Some will be die, but some will be survive. Those are called heat resistance. So this heat resistance, from where they got variations. Because of variations, they got heat resistance. Only few variants will be left, which more heat resistance will go. So that heat resistant bacteria will be accumulate more and more bacteria. So more generations it will be. Then they will be resist to survive in high temperatures also. So it's a very useful variation. Do you understand my point or not? So variation means it's a good, who will be have good power, good character, good change, good variation. They surviving. Okay. So that change is happening because of this two factors, either environmental factors or through reproduction. For example, reproduction. Bacteria, you see clones are there, right? The clones means as it is from parents, there is no change at all. But due to DNA change, DNA changes will be there, light, okay, they will resist towards to the, what you called, DNA changes. Why happening? Because of light, because of food, because of temperature, the changes of the DNA will be takes place, and some mutations, gene changes will be takes place. Because of these mutations, DNA change, that leads to variations. That leads to what you call sudden changes in the genes, leads to which one? Variation. So there are two reasons for the variations. Environmental factors like heat, environment. If you change it means they will be change, adopt the new variation, and that will be who have resistance, they can survive. So that will be spread. That character, resistance character, will be next generations. Next generations they will be survive. Who don't have resistance to heat, they will be die. So that is the changes. Changes are happening or not? Better adapted to environment. That is a variation. Change, variation, useful. When reproduction, see DNA will be mixed with the male and female DNA. Then new variety will come. New variation will come. That is good to the offsprings to survive in the what you called different hard conditions. Why DNA changes will happening? Because of light, maybe because of food, because of temperature or mutation. Sudden changes in the genes is also happening. They are called as the variations. Now come to sexual reproduction is one of the factor for variations. I said or not, sexual reproduction, more variations. Okay, why sexual reproduction is showing the more variations in the sense? Observe very carefully. Why? Because in the sexual reproduction, exchange of the DNA material, crossing over, meiosis, the meiosis cell division, mother gametes chromosomes, female gamete chromosomes cross. So more the genes are mixed and produce new traits. That's why crossing over will be takes place, and union of traits, fertilization time, the characters will be united and forms the variations. So variations get accumulated or discarded. Okay, variations either accumulated or discarded will be takes place by combined effect of environmental. So either discarded or accumulated. Who will decide? Environmental factors will be decided. The selection or rejection of variations only leads to the selection or rejection of variations only leads to which one? Evolution. The selection or rejection. Suppose good variations selected by nature, bad variations, harmful changes rejected by the nature. That leads to evolution. So mutations. Next to mutations, I said no, mutations are the main reason for the changes and new variety of a species. By mutation, what is a mutation? Sudden changes in the DNA or sudden changes in the gene sequences leads to which one? Mutations. Okay, these mutations caused by mutagens. So, who worked about the mutations and mutagens? Hugo de Vries. Remember this name, Hugo de Vries, one of the scientists first identified the what you call change in the genetic material mutations. Okay, so behavioral mutations. Okay, they will be heritable, and they can one generation to another generation the changes will be okay happens and leads to new variety of what you call species and evolution happening like that, identified by Hugo de Vries. Next, what is the definition of heredity and genetics? What is heredity? What is heredity? I said on a transfer of characters from parents to offspring is called heredity. The transfer of the characters from parents to offspring is called heredity. Very important one. So heredity. So all the characters will be transferred from parents to offspring is called heredity. Next word, genetics. What is genetics? The study of the branch of biology. Genetics is the branch of biology. The study of heredity and variation. is called genetics. What is the unit of genetics? Gene is the structural and functional unit of the genetics. Who given the word genetics? W. Bateson, 1905, given the term genetics. Okay, Bateson. Remember this one. Bateson. What's the genetic means? So grow or to become. Genetics means gen means to grow or to become. Next, there are two types of characters. Okay, characters are seen in individual. There are two characters are also called traits. Characters nothing but what you call traits. So one generation, another generation, which will be the characters are spreading in the sense inherited traits. Acquired and traits means which will be acquired in the lifetime. So acquired during the lifetime of individual and are not transferred. Acquired characters means which will a lifetime they will accumulate but not transferred to next generation. For example, tail of mice. You cut the tail of mice, the tail will be come to next generation. Do you understand or not? But tail without tail, there is no new offsprings. So acquired means only some characters which will be accumulate from one generations. Okay, so will not be tailless. So because removal of tail cannot change the genes in the genes. Okay, if you remove the tail, they are not to change. So that's why there is no what you called spreading tailless mouse. So that's why remember the characters are two types. Inherited means one generation to another generation. Acquired means which will be acquired in the lifetime. They will not spread one generation to another generation. Example says best tail mouse. So they took the tail and cutted the they take the mouse and they cutted the tail. Two mouses, male and female mouses, then crossed. Offspring should not show the tail, but the offsprings which one is formed or which one is produced by new those parents mouses or rats have that tail. What is the meaning of that? So the genes will not show any variation because of acquired traits. Okay, so that is important. So acquired traits are there, inherited traits are there. Next, Gregor John Mendel. Remember this name, very important. He's a great scientist in 1822 to 1884. He's a great scientist. So he's a first science and mathematics student. Okay, he is different laws. Gregor John Mendel about the evolution, about hereditary. He given the so many what you called important information to the world. So he published one book also. What is this book now? Annual Proceedings of the Natural History. Okay, Annual Proceedings of the Natural History Society of Brunn. So he worked about law of inheritances. Mainly is the father of genetics. Gregor John Mendel is the father of genetics in the year 1822, 18 what you call 1884 he worked about the genetics. So he's a great scientist. How the characters are spreading from one generation to another generation. So why what is dominance, what is recessive, and the law of inheritance, how the characters are spreading from one generation to another generation. Later Hugo de Vries and different scientists to help develop this Mendel's what you call theories. Okay, these are all very important. Rules of inheritance and Mendel contributions. So Mendel work about the how the characters are spreading, how the characters are spreading from one generation to another generation. He did the research about that concept. So he took the garden pea plant. What is the scientific name of garden pea plant? Pisum sativum. What do you call garden pea plant? Pisum sativum. He took a seed shape, different characters. Seed shape, seed color, flower color, pod shape, pod color, flower position, stem height, monohybrid cross, dihybrid cross. So like such kind of terms he introduced. Why he selected garden plants? Why so many plants are there? No sir. Why the only selected garden plants means garden plants has a short life cycle. It makes possible to study several generations. So very less life cycle is that duration. So next one generation to next generation, easily you can study. So bisexual pea flower, maturing male and female reproductive organs at the same time. So mature anthers and stamens mature very fast at same time. So there is self-pollination also takes place, and even ensures the self-pollination, even pollination will be takes place to study purity of genes. Next, even artificial cross pollination also we can do this by in this plant. So Mendel's were readily available in all the plants. He different traits he used. So why he selected by some garden pea plant? Because short life cycle, bisexual flowers, self pollination, purity of genes will be there, artificial cross pollination also will be takes place. So many very useful characters are there in the guarded pea plants. That's why he selected the garden pea plant, and it worked on which characters? Seven pairs of seven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters. First, what is the character? Seed shape, seed color, flower color, pod. Pod means like a fruit only, but little different. Okay, pod shape, pod color. So flower position, flower position. So what is a seed shape? For example, seed shape is round and wrinkled, dominant, round and wrinkled. Seed color yellow and green. Yellow is the dominant, green is the recessive, and flower color violet dominant, white recessive. What is the dominant? Expressing, phenotypically expressing dominant one. Which one is not showing in the sense, that is called character not expressed in the sense, that is recessive. So same like that, pod shape also full constricted, and pod color green yellow. Okay, dominant is green yellow. So flower position axial and terminal. Axial is dominant, terminal is recessive. Tall, dwarf. So to stem height, tall is the dominant, dwarf is the resistant. Main this one you have to remember, stem height. So by seeing these all characters, he did research on garden pea plant. So and also he developed monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross. So one character he crossed, suppose tall plant with the dwarf plant, or dihybrid cross. Which one? Two characters. What are the two characters? Round and yellow, wrinkled and green. For example, round and yellow, wrinkled and seeds colors. So two characters are not round and yellow, plus wrinkled and green. So two characters that is called dihybrid cross, crossed and produced variety of seeds, variety of plants, and identified, studied completely how genes are transferring from one generation to another generation, and he created the laws also by his what you called uh, studies. So the Mendel's laws are there. In the next class we will be discuss very deeply about each and everyone. Okay children, so heredity, evolution, our new chapter. Asexual reproduction variations are less, but sexual reproduction variations are more. For example, asexual reproduction variation in sugarcane, little variations, but human sexual reproduction, more variations. What is the variation? The differences in the traits or characters among the individual or species. Differences, same species but different characters. Variations may be due to environmental factors and reproduction. Changes better adapted. Suppose environment changed. To adapt the environment, they will change created by themselves. That's called variation. For example, bacterial colony. We changed the complete environment suddenly of bacterial colony. So heat, overheat. So those who have heat resistance, that change, that adaptation, that variation, who have, they can survive. Those who don't have that variation, they will be eliminated. So like that, and those who survived with in the heat resistance, they will be spread those character with heat resistant character to next generations. So like that, environmental factors affects the creation of variations. Reproduction also, even clones bacteria is not that much variation, but DNA changes due to light, food, temperature, and mutations of gene changes, main reason for the reproductive variations. Now come to sexual reproduction, shows the more variation, like that we said. Why? The exchange of DNA crossing over will be takes place. Male and female gametes will be, chromosomes will be joined and new characters are forming. So that's why more variations, and union of characters, fertilization. So selection or rejection of variations under control of which one? Evolution. Good. Selection means evolution, new species. Rejected means old species. So everything, selection or rejection of variations leads to evolution. So mutations also main reason for the variations. What is the mutations? Sudden changes in the gene sequences. Okay, mutation may be useful or harmful. How mutations are forming? Because of mutagens. Which mutations? Okay, caused by mutagens. Mutagens means which cause the mutations. So what is hereditary? Transfer of traits from parents to offspring is called heredity. Genetics. The study of heredity and variation is called genetics. So W. Bateson in 1905 created the term genetics. He developed inherited traits from one generation to another generation. So there will be characters house spreading. Completely will give the information about the characters in the genetics. So there are two types of characters. Inherited character traits or acquired trait. Trait nothing but character or gene character. Okay. Inherited traits means one generation which a character or trait which will be spread or transfer from one generation to another generation, parents to offsprings. But acquired characters which will not pass next generations, they acquired, not transferred. Example, tail of mouse. If you cut the tail of mouse of both male and female parent mouses, even though the offspring's mouse shows the tail. Why? Because there is no change in the gametic what you call gene level, only somatic cells only. So acquired means they will not spread from one generation to another generation. So that is the acquired trait. Gregor John Mendel in 1820 to 1894 he developed the genetics. He is the father of genetics. He worked on garden pea plants. Okay, so and why he selected garden pea plants? Fast life cycle, self fertilization will be possible, induced pollination also will be possible, and a variety of characters we can study easily. And another important one is artificial cross pollination also we can easily do this in this. So both the male and female reproductive organ, anther and gynoecium mature very equal way. So that's why he selected this point, and he worked about 7 characters, how the characters will be transferred from one generation to another generation. For example, he selected seed shape, seed color, flower color, pod shape, pod color, flower position, stem height, tall and dwarf, like that. Dominant and recessive characters he selected for his studies, how these characters are spreading from generation to another generation. He selected one character and crossed it, and how the new characters are forming through explained about through monohybrid cross. And 2 characters he selected, and he crossed it with the 2 character plants, those 2 character traits plants, and explained about 2 characters how crossing to next generations through dihybrid cross he explained. So tomorrow we'll detailedly discuss about monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross.